Hey guys, Comic Boom here to talk about Mr. Miracle issue 6. First thing I want to say is congratulations to my country, to my Canadian hockey team. They won gold at the World's Hockey Cup, so fantastic. So congratulations to Team Canada. That happened last weekend. I never had a chance to do that, but I get the chance to wear my cap. And incidentally, as a consolation to my American friends, the only team that Canada lost to was the United States, so you'll always have that. But in any event, let's hop to it with Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle number 6, if you recall in Mr. Miracle number 5, Scott and Barda spent one last day together because they were expecting that they would return to New Genesis, at which point Scott would be executed by Orion because it's believed that Scott was infected by the anti-life equation. Well, this particular issue does not disappoint. Tom King, the writer on Twitter, and Mitch Gerards, the artist, who's on top of his game here as usual, they said that the last 2 pages of this particular issue would be a doozy, and it most certainly was. And there's one other big revelation. So I just want to give a heads up here. If you guys don't want spoilers for issue 6, stop this video and maybe wait until you've read it, because there's some pretty big spoilers here for issue 6 that might change your perspective on issue 5 and some of the previous issues because of what it's built up to. This is a 12-issue series. This is issue 6. This is the midway point. The first 6 issues, very clearly, certainly up until the end of last issue, it was showing all the despair that is in Scott Free's life and Mr. Miracle's life. He had tried to commit suicide. He had slit his wrist. He was seemingly lost and alone, and there were serious questions whether or not he was infected with the anti-life equation. The only tether he seemed to have is his love for Big Barda. And at the end of issue 5, it was very clear that it was Big Barda's love for him and his love for her that caused them to both come to the decision to fight for his life. So we knew that at the end of issue 5, we expect issue 6 here, starting off, that they're going to go back to New Genesis and they're going to fight. And the purpose of going back to New Genesis was for Mr. Miracle to talk to his brother Orion, or rather his, I guess you could, stepbrother Orion, and to say, look, I don't want to die. I want to fight this. If I am infected with the anti-life equation, I'm going to fight this. And of course, this entire issue is very interesting. It's beautifully laid out. And this entire issue is basically Scott and Big Barda basically having a conversation about how to redecorate their condo. And it's very interesting because as the way it's laid out, beautifully laid out, colorful plant panels, they're having this conversation while they're fighting their way basically into the throne room where Orion is. And of course, all the guards that are protecting Orion, they're under orders, of course, to execute Mr. Miracle, and that's what they attempt to do. So what we get is Mr. Miracle and Big Barda very casually killing all these guards of New Genesis as they make their way into the throne room where Orion is. And it's so funny because while they're doing this, they're going through these incredible traps. They go through a tank with a dragon in it, and they go through a room with lasers and all these death traps that would kill 99% of every metahuman in the universe. They walk through like it's a cakewalk to them while they're having a conversation on how to decorate their condo. And what's so beautiful about it is it becomes quite apparent that the motivation and the reason why Big Barda brought up the subject of renovating their condo and creating more closet space was because she wants to, it isn't just about renovating the bathroom, but it wasn't just about cutting the living room in half and creating another room. There was a motivation there to create another room. And of course, Mr. Miracle Scott, perhaps a little bit too preoccupied with fighting his way through the forces, the guards near the throne room. It's soon revealed by Big Barda why she wants to renovate their home. And it's because they need another room because they're having a new addition to their family. Big Barda reveals that she is pregnant, and Scott's reaction to it is just wonderful, and it's very heartwarming. He hugs Big Barda, and it's a very funny scene. The way Mitch Gerard draws and illustrates their interactions is just absolutely perfect. You really get a handle on it, and they're such a great couple. They fight effortlessly together, and the way Mitch Gerard sort of draws the way they interact, the way they fight, they're not only, it's almost poetic. They not only fight well together, but their conversation is as poetic and yet as jagged and as jagged with an edge on it sometimes, as much as their fighting style is, because they decapitate some of the guards, they kill guards quite egregiously. Big Barda uses her power rod. She does some pretty serious damage to a lot of the people they go through. But in any event, when they finally make it to the throne room, Mr. Miracle goes in first, because Big Barda says, look, go in and talk to your brother. You know, this is after she's told him that she's pregnant, and he says, you know, she lets him to go in and talk to your brother, talk to him, talk some sense into him. And Scott goes in alone, and lo and behold, who does he see? He sees the crumpled, dead, well, seemingly dead body. We assume he's dead. I assume he's dead. Although it doesn't really say. We assume it's the dead body of Orion, who's he's obviously been killed, or at least he seems pretty bloodied up. I assume he's dead. And then lo and behold, behind him is the face of Darkseid, and wow. And it's quite an emotional moment, because the transition from going from the happiness of the pregnancy revelation of Big Barda to the darkness of the throne room, where Orion is laying seemingly dead, and Scott just breaks down saying, "Oh, Orion," he says, "what did you do? What did you do?" And that revelation and that appearance of Darkseid, where Darkseid says that Darkseid does not do, Darkseid is. And wow, that's huge. And it's such a perfect build-up, because that Darkseid is panel has been with us from issue 1, and that powerful statement of Darkseid showing up right after that revelation that Scott finds out him and Big Barda are going to have a child, and lo and behold, just when they have that hope of that birth, of that rebirth, and perhaps having a child is another reason for Scott Free to fight for his life and to fight against the anti-life. Darkseid comes in and reminds him, seemingly killing Orion and reminding him that Darkseid is. So forget about hopelessness, because remember what the anti-life equation is. You know, it's not hope, it's hopelessness, it's despair, it's misery. And it's a mathematical equation that life is hopeless. But here we have in this issue that, you know, Darkseid, I think, is in for a fight, because now Mr. Miracle has got a miracle on the way in Big Barda. They're going to have a child, and so the fight is on. And so this issue things are really heating up, and the stage is set for the remaining 6 issues, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely spectacular. So I couldn't be happier. The covers are also fantastic. I want to give a shout out to also the colors. In the variant cover, Clayton Cowles is the letterer. Nick Darrington did one of the covers. Maggie Howell is the assistant editor. Molly Mahan is associate editor. And Jamie S. Rich is another editor on the series. And of course, let's thank Jack Kirby for creating Mr. Miracle to begin with. All these people should get shout-outs because, Tom King made it clear, and so did Mitch Gerard, that it's a team effort and everyone's putting in their all. And of course, on the first issue, of course, on one of the covers, we have a quote from Brian Michael Bendis, which technically is his first, I guess you could say, the cover of issue 6 is his first DC work, theoretically, or actually technically his second DC work, because I think he did I can't remember what else he did. But I think this is his second DC work, but his first DC work since defecting from Marvel. So, in any event, guys, please pick up Mr. Miracle number 6. You won't be disappointed. It looks like there's going to be greater stuff to come. So, guys, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Comic Boom. And in the meantime, Comic Boom out.